Hello, in this video I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean by a good thing, an epiphany, and a focus in the context of things that have happened to me in my life in the past 24 hours. And for those of you who do not know me, my name is Duncan Alderdice, and the reason I'm making these videos is to document the journey I take as I become who I am by making small improvements to my life every single day. So, first I know business because it's a habit that I wanted to get into. How many dials on the day? I don't actually know. Hold on, we'll just check real quickly. 19 dials on the day, so low, however, 3 book demos, so the activity's up. I'm saying that right now because that's a small habit that I want to improve, keep my activity up, so we're sticking to that 150 dial day. Now, the good thing that had occurred was specifically that, and this actually was happening yesterday, but in a one-on-one that I had with the new sales manager, because the sales manager I had, who's now an account executive, Mark, is now an account executive and not my sales manager. So it's the whatever, the one I have with him, he, because there's new hires, asked me to run just a quick training for the new people, specifically when it comes to overcoming the more common objections that people had. And so that was, it was flattering, and I'm excited for it, and I have for the past hour created rough notes to create a sort of presentation. And what I'm looking to do on that is specifically, because I know they're going to be drinking water from a fire hose for the first 2 weeks, because we're just going to be throwing information at them. Most of it is going to bounce off their brains and off, because you can't learn all of the information all at once. You need to go piece by piece. That's a more effective way of learning. So you could spend a full week just on the objections and working on that you get in this particular job. But I want there to be actually I want to provide them with a singular piece of information that they actually walk away with having learned something, so that I want it to be effective. I think that singular piece of information is differentiating between objections and obstacles. They're the same thing, there's only a temporal difference, meaning they're both reasons why someone does not want to decide and move forward or move forward with the program, but it depends at which point in these sales conversations they come up. If it's an objection, if it's an obstacle, it's come up before price has been mentioned. If it's an objection, price has been mentioned, and now they're saying like, I need to think about it. This isn't for me, it's too expensive, like I need to talk to my partner. All of which is just like, I don't feel comfortable making a decision, because if they felt comfortable making a decision and did not want it, they would say no, which is not what they're doing. Obstacles come before that. Obstacles are easier to overcome because then there's not the pressure of the actual, you have to make a decision here. It's easier to go like, well, do you need to talk to anybody about this before, or are you the person who makes the decision? Oh no, I'm the person who makes the decision. Okay, cool. Then when it brings up price, then they can't say, I need to talk to my wife. Because if you don't address that before and you address it afterwards, then what is it? It's like, then it's like, it's really, you're going like, it's harder to go like, you really need to consult your wife to make a decision relative to your own business. Because like, then they go like, well, yes, we make purchasing decisions all together. That's harder to, like, I mean, emotionally for myself, going like, yeah, that seems reasonable. It's way easier for you to say like, do you need to talk to anybody else? And they say, no, this is for my business. And it's like, cool, there's a lower stakes pressure to it. So again, the point that I want to bring up for them is differentiating that. And if that's the differentiate between obstacles and objections, the two things is going like, qualification is the most important part of the script. Like very much so, not the pitch, not the intro, not the closing, although you could argue that, but like the qualification, spend as much time as you can there, because that's often when you will address objections before price, and therefore they're obstacles, easier to overcome. More like, for example, like going like, does anybody on the cold call, does anybody need to be involved in making this decision? Or like, if you wanted to try this out, when would you like to set it up? Because that's like, the timing isn't right, or I need to talk to my smart price, you want to do that beforehand. And then what that would specifically transition into is going like, okay, like a point that I would make is, what is it? Like, is emphasizing going like, there's plenty of objections out there. It would take more than 45 minutes to cover them all. And the most effective way at learning how to overcome objections is to get onto a sales call 1,000 times and attempt to do so. You'll learn far more effectively than what could be taught in a 45-minute session. But the point I want to emphasize is they're not allowed and need to be getting in the frame of mind to not accept I need to think about it as an answer. It's like, no. They're on the call. This is them thinking about it. When they say they need to think about it, what they're actually saying is, I don't want to make a decision. When they say, I've tried this in a month, what they're actually saying is, I don't want to make a decision. When they say they'll talk to their partner, what they're actually saying is, I don't want to make a decision. I have too many other things going on. I don't want to make a decision. Let me get back to you on this and I'll give you an answer. I don't want to make a decision. That's all what that is. Because then that, again, hold on, I need to move this up slightly because we're here. All of what the I don't want to make a decision is leading to is emphasizing that their job is not to get the person to buy. Their job is to get the person to decide. They are a decision-making facilitator. Their job is to make the person they're speaking with feel comfortable making a decision. Yes or no are options on the table that they can do so. That's fine. I'm gonna think about it and then letting them go, that's a failure. And then this, once that's established that their job is to help the person feel comfortable making a decision, and I can reflect back on my calls that haven't gone the way I wanted to. I'm going like, did I make that person feel comfortable? No. Maybe I could have closed them or not, but whatever. But like feel comfortable making a decision. Then that transitions into the objection handling framework, which is a document, which is the thing that I have been working on, of going like the most effective and predictable way of and reliable way of making the person feel comfortable making the decision is using this objection handling framework, and then I'll show the document. There's like multiple steps to it, and then I'll highlight specifically ones that are the more important, like mirroring what they say to get them to tell more, and then label them with the problem. Like, yes, in theory, following steps 1 through 8 are perfect. Like, it's the best way to do it, the most effective, but the theory never matches reality 100% of the time. You're more often going to be in situations where the situation does not match the theory. So then it's like, if you enter in a situation that does not match the theory, what's the least amount of the theory you can do to be as effective as you can, rather than doing none of it? But so then that brings it into that sort of thing. Wait, hold on, I lost the thought. Oh, because and then the point, and that thing is interesting is because then I can speak to the particular journey I had with it. Is going, I had this framework, and or like me going, you don't have to actually use this. You can do it like I did, which was going like, okay, well, fuck no, I'm all over the place. I think I'm gonna do a disjunctive connection. So I'll connect to my story where I was talking about going like, okay, the first step was at least try to overcome it. Ask for the business. Don't just accept the objection. Okay, ask it. That was step 1. Then step 2 was do it in a reliable and repeatable way, which is this framework kind of thing. Okay, that's what it is. And then bringing up the point that like I got fucking too many things. That if you just kind of ask for it, it rarely works. It never works, actually. It never works. If you use this framework, it sometimes works. Sometimes it's more than never. So if you do this every single time, you can know for a fact that you have done everything you could in your power, because what this framework does, ultimately this, is it uncovers the emotional resistance they have in making the decision and brings to the forefront of their mind the rational justifications they have for being afraid and delaying make a decision. And that ultimately, when they see the ridiculous nature of the reason that they don't want to make a decision, they will go like, okay, well, no, fucking, that's ridiculous. Let's make a decision. Normally that means moving forward if they're interested in it, or at least saying no. But again, the point, if you follow the framework, you'll isolate the emotional underpinnings of the resistance. If you isolate and uncover the emotional underpinnings of the resistance, then you will get to the root of the issue. And at the end of the day, sometimes it just is too much. Sometimes they do need to talk to their wife. Sometimes the timing isn't right. Sometimes the objections are valid, but if you accept the objection off like initially, you're not failing as a salesperson. You need to like help them feel comfortable and actually figure out what is making them feel resistance. And then I can bring up I have closes at 1. That the meetings closed in 1 or 2 meetings. A decision was made after the first one. The second one was just to reinforce that decision. Like that's it. And there's plenty of deals that I have people's fucking names who said they're gonna move forward but insert objection that I did not handle effectively in a predictable way and never did everything in my power to get them across the line, and they still have not closed or returned my calls. So you're actually not losing anything because you cannot lose something that you do not have. So these are all the thoughts that I've kind of been having with it. I think what I do want to emphasize though with them is like make the presentation, but all of this reducing down to, and then where would that lead? That would then lead into, it would lead then into practicing and rehearsing the objection handling framework and going I think that's more the focus is there's a million fucking objections that they can work on. The thing for them to focus on are not like two things, like objections versus obstacles. Try to get as many objections handled before you bring a price as obstacles because it's easier to deal with. And secondly, you never accept I need to think about it. That's a failure. For the first like 4 weeks, I'm gonna think about it. If I'm gonna think about it, then learns into like, it's just too much, I don't have this, I wanna talk about that. Okay, cool, that's fine. Like, we're moving forward, but I'm not gonna think about you don't wanna do that, just so they have one particular focus, and then we can actually practice going through it. And that, okay, so that's that. It makes me energized and excited. So that was this. Now, the second thing, what was it? The epiphany was the fact that, we'll go on to the second thing. I could have avoided, I remember being ghosted in January with a Hinge match that I got, that then we exchanged text messages, but then when I said like, let's go for the coffee thing, they didn't not reply. And I saw them read the text message like 3 weeks later, but I didn't hear anything from that. And then so at that point, my attitude was kind of more like, well, if she wanted to, she would, so let's move on. The thing I realized, and this was talking with like a friend who's now, because I'm going back on Hinge, she's going back on Hinge, and so we're like coordinating with that. Avika is having a conversation with a guy, like, and they're going back and forth, and then I'm getting like insight into like the female side of things. And one thing that she was frustrated with was the particular guy she was talking to was not changing the conversation. And then that, it was kind of feeling stale, like they were still going on the same sort of joke, and it was like going like, I don't want to have to change the conversation. I'm not being asked any questions about me. Okay, cool. So then it was like, if I can look back to the conversation I had with the girl in January or December kind of thing, the text message exchange was just banter on this particular joke. I didn't ask any questions or change the subject, which I also felt like I didn't know how to. Like, is that something you're supposed to do over text? But again, I'm going, so then when it was time to be like go on the actual coffee date, like there was no connection established. There was like nothing had actually occurred, which again is a different pattern, which is the same sort of idea with when you're making a cold call to someone. Just booking the meeting isn't enough. You need them to feel emotional on that cold call. Really what you need to do is acknowledge that they have a problem that needs to be solved, and the point of this meeting is to figure out whether or not the person that they're having the meeting with is that solution to the problem that they have admitted they have. If they don't have the problem and actually suffer from that, then they're not going to show up, they're not going to care about the meeting, there's no point. So if there's no genuine interest from the person you've matched with on Hinge in learning more about the person, just saying that like, oh, I have like this date with them doesn't mean that they're actually going to show up. So that was cool to actually have figured out. Just here's just a side thing. I like that I actually move around. This is cool. This is nice. Before I would be in my bed at this point. And then a focus is this. Fucking, I've been sending messages. I'm starting to count them just so I can get stats roughly. But it feels like, I mean, I give lower numbers for it. But like, so I have sent out now, well, we're just counting this week, but like 14 messages total, and have received a total of 0 replies. And even the ones that I sent out last week, which I'm not counting because I forget how many it was and I was just getting a rough estimate, have not received any replies either. And like I'm going with the framework roughly of like bring something up about the profile and ask a question. Always ask a question, make the question easy to answer to. So then if they see the like, then they look briefly at my profile, they're like, I'd like to talk to this guy. They're not thinking, how the fuck do I reply to what he just said? It's like going like, what's your cat's name? That if they're interested, it is just insert cat's name, like something like that. Now, it is depressing or frustrating that I'm just not getting anything. But I just, again, like cold calling, need to just focus on the inputs. If I continue to send out messages, someone will reply eventually. There's many, I don't know who those people are. I don't know what's going on inside their life. I don't know their intentions with the dating app. I don't know how serious they are about it. There's enough factors beyond my control. The only thing I can focus on is what is within my control, which is whether or not I'm going through profiles and sending out messages, putting myself out there. If I don't put myself out there, I'm guaranteeing myself to get 0 matches. If I put myself out there, I'm opening myself up to the possibility of getting a match. What's kind of frustrating and tough about it is then you'll see someone that you think you can kind of vibe with, and then you'll like play a story out in your head of what they're like, or like aspects of it, see matches and overlaps with your actual profile, and then you won't hear anything from them. So then it's just like, it's like, fuck, like I feel like we had something, but again, you're only having something with a pattern that doesn't exist. Like, you're not a human being yet. They are literally a flashing series of images found on which is just your phone screen kind of thing. Like, if you just reduce it down to that, which is like, that's the people thing that I think people don't like about it, but whatever. I can't focus on the things outside my control. I can only focus on the things within my control. And that's all I have for today's video, actually. Thanks for sticking around, Clementine Club, as always, and remember to believe in yourself, because you're more capable of doing great things than you give yourself credit.
I'll talk to you later.